Good
Good to
evening.
my friend.
Good
Yes,
evening, my Freddie. You're set in a very dynamic, a very independent mood. I feel like eating a conky now.
with currents or without currents?
Not current. In my day, we couldn't afford we couldn't afford current, so they were straight.
Okay.
So I grew up on conky. No, the
Oh,
currents
I
came
tell
their
you.
business became more had more money and more disposable income, but it was straight conky, coconut and all that. You can take
I
for the
am
conky.
telling you, and we were so excited because, as you know, the Independence Celebration replaced Guy
Right,
Fawkes
that's right.
Day, and at that time we were down in Boscobel. My mother was doing head teacher at Boscobel Girls School, and I don't know if you remember what down there was like. There was a big windmill, old windmill wall
Right,
across the pasture opposite the school,
right.
and every Guy Fawkes Day, my father would carry tires up on top of the windmill and light them, and we would have the fireworks and the rockets and the starlights and the bandits and all those. You remember those days, Glyne?
Of course, but
I tell you.
I think the younger generation you should tell them what Guy Fawkes there was. Guy Fawkes
Oh,
there was tell them because I might think it was
no,
just some.
I would let you do that because I'm not the greatest historian when it
But
comes to that.
for those who are too young to have been exposed to these um, intricate parts of Barbadian social and cultural history,
Yes,
Guy
yes.
Fawkes Day, the 5th of November, was meant to celebrate the failure of a man called Guy Fawkes, who plotted to blow up the House of Commons. And in order it did not succeed. Uh, so they commemorated by having these bonfires and celebrations in England. So we had all versions in Barbados at a different level, but we were all a part of the spirit. Dyn- um, Cabal, anything explosive virtually, you were used to make the noise to
Yes,
symbolize
yes.
the attempt, right? But I think that is one of the. And we also had conkeys. I remember the conkeys.
Yes,
Right, the
yes. I
conkeys.
used to look forward to eating my donkeys on Guy Fawkes Day.
I,
The only
I,
day
well,
you could get them.
but one of the first things Tornadoes did was to abolish it because it became very disruptive,
Yeah, yeah.
frightening children and animals, old people, because the youngsters got out of hand and were going through the people's houses, the
That's
verandas,
true.
the
That's true.
yards,
And through the
and he
villages and
said
so on.
he cut them out, but we retained the conkeys, and then eventually with independence taking its place. And I
Yes.
must give my and also community independence replaced that vacuum and everything that
Yes. Yes.
that we done that. Yeah, but let me before I go
That
on to
November the 30th, that November the 30th took over from November the 5th. And Glenn, that is one
that's
of the,
right.
the reasons I felt so strongly. And I may have failed to express it before, but I felt so strongly, Glenn, as I sat in the commission, knowing what we used to be and what, the colonial celebrations we used to have and what we have now become, to see a colonial individual sitting representing the country of Barbados.
But you can't. He did not hire himself. The Barbados government hired him. So
I know what a disrespect to the people of this country.
uh, uh, what was also it was disrespectful too because there was Edmund Hinkson, the chairman of the commission, man who did all the work, who guided, who controlled it, who managed it in his way, and
Yes,
a lawyer, and we were not in
yes,
discussion international law. We were
no,
discussing
no,
to apply to Barbados,
correct,
and he
correct.
and they had to bring for them to bring an outsider. Or to me was I can only say they probably feel that he was not good enough to represent Barbados. And
But
I didn't even know I didn't even know he was passing notes, but I was wondering what hand he played in devising and compiling such a pathetic attempt at defending Barbados'
yeah,
sovereignty,
while they
right?
sat at the table, he was taking, these yellow sheets from a yellow pad, turning them out,
Right,
folding them over, writing a note, and passing it through Vic
right,
Fernandez, to the attorney. And you
right.
could see that when the attorney was finished with one point, he would just take the paper and set it aside and pick up the next, almost as if he didn't come prepared to engage the
But,
process that we were there for.
but the quality of his presentation clearly, for example, he never once mentioned the Barbados government he represented, for whom he spoke, never once mentioned the two offended sections 19 and 20. They
Correct.
never once by number,
Absolutely. Not
right?
once.
Not
Not
once,
once.
right? So it really is a very poor effort, and you must forgive Edmund, because Edmund is not for all the understanding, Edmund is not running again. He's to be replaced by Chad Blackman, and maybe his attitude is part of that. He got to resign. He can do anything. I'm not going to be there again to face the public. And I think in my estimation, of what I have known of him, I don't think he's quite gotten over having been taken down, having been reduced, demoted from a minister. Uh, remember, he used to be a minister of immigration, etc.
Yes,
I don't
yes.
think he's quite gotten over that. And but he's a man who his mouth could put him in trouble. You
Well,
know,
it
there's
did with me. It did with me, Glyne, because when he arrived, and I want everybody to hear this. When he arrived, I was downstairs waiting for our attorney, Julio, to arrive. And when they came, what was the first thing he said to me? He, in his usual way, I knew I would have seen you here, Dr. Nichols, and you all got some funding from the right wing people here in the United States. And I looked at him and I said, Edmund, it is time you stop that foolishness. You're a liar, you know that. And I called him straight in his face. I said, you're a liar,
of
you
course,
know that. You know that
but
that is not true. And I had
but
to
don't.
say, even after the commission, he came back with the same thing after the commission was finished
Yeah,
hearing
yeah,
us.
yeah. Yeah. But don't forget,
Anyhow,
that staying out is what put him in trouble. As far as I
yeah.
remember, there's still a legal, there's a court in the law, there's a case in the law court for defamation, still pending as far as involving his mouth. I
Oh,
say
Lord.
no more at this stage.
Yes, sir.
But so his mouth could take him anywhere up or down. So
Yes, sir.
you
Well,
know
so
that.
good to have you on. So good to
Good, my
have you
friend.
on. Let's sit back and allow you to take the floor, sir.
My topic tonight is it's in keeping with Barbados and Barbadiana and things Barbadian. We're trying to depict and recollect and depict any Barbados activities or events or sayings to make us feel that peculiar Barbadian feeling. And my topic tonight is Standpipe News with Talalala. Standpipe News with Talalala. And first of all, I will make it clear that everybody remembers what is their standpipe. There are not very many of them left. They used to be on the public streets, the public roads, to provide fresh water for those Barbadians who did not have the benefit or luxury of running water to their home. So you'd have to come over your home, your gap, your road, and go to the standpipe to collect free water. I myself did it for a number of years, and I remember what I had to walk with a bucket of water early in the morning
Yes,
to
yes.
bathe, to go to school, to fill up a barrel, help cook. And it was a great relief when we finally got water. We lived up a gap, so you would have to pay money to run a galvanized pipe from the connection on the main road highway up the gap, and it was costly. So not very many people could afford it. So that was the way it was done initially by the Barbados Water Works, and then by the Water Works Department, now the Barbados Water Authority. So that
You
was the
said you
government's
said it.
way.
You said it was what? Standpipe.
Standpipe News
Uh-huh.
with Talalala. So I've told you what a standpipe is.
Kalalala.
Talalala.
T A L
Talalala.
A L A L A.
Talalala.
Talalala.
Talalala. Okay. This,
Talalala. Okay. We still have a
the,
couple of standpipes knocking
right,
around.
right.
There's one out
Thank
in
God.
Bibby's Lane, I think.
But let me tell you who's Talalala was a well-known street character in Bridgetown, and he was the source of all kind of news. He always knew what was going on. He could tell you about it, and at the business, I taught people names. So he was the fountain of a lot of news in Barbados at that time. So when somebody told you're behaving like Talala, I mean you're talking somebody's name bad, right? So that's the context of bringing these news. And Talala would always know what is going on high and low in Barbadian society. I would tell people about it. That was the source of local information. And so therefore, and Tala would also talk about things that people underground felt were happening around in Barbados. And so that's the context in which I deal with the item. The first I'm going to talk about is the one with the 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 I want to talk about okay. I'm going to talk about the the behavior of the not the
Okay.
behavior, the quality of the announcement by the police. And when they made this announcement by the man who died, who had been involved in the incident and died, but said the inquest, the coroner's report was died of natural causes.
Hmm. Hmm.
Talalala, like people I thought would have found that wrong because the report never made mention of the injuries that took him to the hospital.
Right,
Right,
right.
right, and it, logically you would think that that would have been part of the report, and
Hmm.
therefore I'm very disappointed
Hmm.
and surprised that the Barbados Police Service would think they could get away with that in this day and age with the Barbadian public who's so enlightened, who has access to information all from all the world. I know. Deal with the issue first because Talala would have said that it looks as though they're hiding something and they're trying to cover somebody. I don't believe they are,
Hmm.
but what they're doing is giving currency to the top on the ground on the people that for whom Talala would have spoken and who he would address that it ain't right. Something is wrong. Somebody getting unfair in this regard. And there's a feeling, based on what I've been hearing people say, that in the same way it was done by the incident in Jackson, they want the same police approach to investigation on the beatings. Because it's clear the reports, the police report, the newspaper reports, and Mr. Safri, everybody saying that initially the person the deceased represented himself at the hospital for injuries. Now, what happened to those injuries? And not only that, who caused the injuries, and if who, what is being done about it? So I think that's that's a classic case where people where Belgians feel that they're being unfair. And as you know, Belgians don't like unfairness. They really don't. They would defend you to the hell if they feel that you're getting unfair. And another unfairness would be with this the the there's a if you go online and see there's a called Pick Up Barbados. If you Google and put Pick Up Barbados, it's an app. You can go look further and see what you say. It's an app which um, allocates you to if you want a taxi, call that number and they'll get a taxi for you. It's a kind of version of Uber. All right. My understanding is that that this app this business app has been put in place by a Trinidadian family, and it was a way when they first came to Barbados, they tried to get the Barbadian taxi men to work with them. They went to co-ops and men at the port and the harbor, right? And they would give them 20% of the money that when they use you, if they send out your taxi on your behalf, you get 20% of the fare. Something like that. Or they take 20% of the fare. Let me be fair to them. But what the person objected to is that they're not buying cars, right? They're not licensing. They don't have to pay gasoline. There's no insurance. All they would do is call Ferdy. You have a car, and they arrange to go and pick up somebody in Black Rock, tell them your favorite. So there was no outlay. There's no investment in Barbados for that purpose. Those in the taxi service, I understand there was some furore last week, or last week or so out of the airport. They tried it at the port, they did get down. But at the airport, there's a connection where people are coming and picking up taxis, while the two or three or four taxi organizations at the airport, and they pay a fee every year to operate and maintenance, so the airport benefits from it, and they feel it is unfair for an outsider, outside Barbadian, outside organizers to come and make money at their expense because they're not invested any into Barbados. I believe that in business you get you don't get what you deserve, you get what you negotiate. So I'm not blaming this business interest from Trinidad for operating in this way. What I'm blaming is that the Barbadian authorities let them operate in that way. Because I remember that for many years both BLP and DLP governments took a very strong policy of not allowing outside taxi franchises to come and settle in Barbados. That's why you have such a vibrant, well equipped taxi service in Barbados. We reserved it for Barbados. You might see a Hertz franchise name at the airport because they have the brand name. But we felt that I remember one time meeting some persons from Hertz who came to Barbados when I was the minister in government, wanted to meet with me. They have this fantastic idea they want to do this service. But I told them, no, it's not that. We do not allow outsiders. That is reserved for Barbadian investors and business persons. So all of a sudden now, and they were going to be bringing the cars and a big paraphernalia, and they were doing investment. But we said no. And we have, like I said, very successful, respected. You don't really hear any incidents of Barbadian service. It's a well-run service. Of course, the service quality has to be improved, like all over Barbados and private sector and private sector. But as an institution of itself, it has proven it work. So
Yes.
I'm very disappointed that Independence time that and I would like to know what I'm not up on this thing. What does it take to set up an app? How does the Barbados Revenue Authority, National Insurance, anybody benefit from somebody operating in that? They're not buying cars, they say they don't have a garage. Right? So why should the app come and jeopardize Barbadian who invested so much money of their time and effort to build an industry at their expense? And I was wondering, I mean, anything technological is possible these times, but I would think that it would be quite costly to if had to be disable an app. But I feel it is unfair that they came to Barbados and again, again, first they said they were resisting and rejecting her. Somehow they find a way, and now they operate there. I don't know if were you able to Google it yourself?
No,
Pick up,
not yet. I've taken up and enthralled with listening to you, but I can do it now that you're speaking. Go ahead.
yeah, it's called Pick Up Barbados. I'll let you Google it while I go on for the
Okay, that's fine.
the other topic I want to talk about is again Barbados and Barbadian and Barbados business persons. I am all for modernization. I'm all for international relations. I'm all for societies exchanging businesses, etc., and business going on and buying out and merging, etc. But we have a case though. I am told we have a case though where the Barbados governments for years have give concessions to the building of hotels, hotel plant and whatnot, duty free concessions, various concessions for years. That was a necessary um, route to go in order to get outside investment, foreign exchange, U.S. dollars to come and invest in Barbados to develop a very thriving tourism sector upon which we are highly dependent. But one area, these are hotels. As a matter of fact, so generously the last DLP government gave to sandals that it was a big furore in Barbados. I remember this present government, the Barbados Labour Party, criticizing the DLP. Nor ends up for giving such generous concessions. Apparently, they're said to be the most generous ever in the history of tourism in Barbados. But lo and behold, now I am told, that one of the years, one of the things, right? One of the things we had done in Barbados, governments have refused to give similar duty-free contest sessions to restaurants, except for years they said no to some of the most distinguished, well-established, popular, well-run, exclusive restaurants in Barbados. Except now that an outsider again has come into Barbados and gotten some very generous um, concessions, duty-free concessions for his restaurants, something that had been not allowed to other Barbadian restaurateurs for a time. I don't. You want to read what you say there about what you find online for Pick Up Barbados?
Yeah, sure, Glyne. It says there, I don't know if y'all can see it big enough on the screen. It says, be on your way with Pickup Barbados, a modern taxi experience custom built for the Barbados community. Feel safe knowing that you're riding with a licensed taxi driver and enjoy the convenience of requesting from anywhere at any time. That is the initial aspect of the hail a taxi from anywhere. There you go. Professional, reliable, transparent. I'm just going to try to get right down. at the bottom, where you can probably see. I don't know if they'll say anything about who it is.
Well, I know if you Google, I think there's an address in St. James attached to it.
Hmm.
I came across an address in Prayer Park or something, but I'm not saying the office. Anything that resembles a physical plant,
Hmm.
um, that show that they put some money into Barbados and that they're employing Barbados to help write this thing. That not just an app and a raking off 20% at the top, right? For just getting an app and promoting internationally and whatnot. I know there's e-business and all, but I think we have to protect ourselves. And they say, and so you have an example like that. Now, when you put it with this, the reports what's happened to taxi in the restaurant business. I think we have to take stock. I think we have to pull back and say what is going on in Barbados at a time when at independence when we're supposed to be a republic. I think this is a version for the example of outsiders coming and getting advantages that Barbados have not been allowed for themselves. And it does the country no good. It's bad for the empowerment, the financial development. It's bad for the psyche of the Barbadians. Another example of that they do belong or they're second class citizens in their own country at the time when we are supposed to be a republic. I don't know if you want to ask any questions
But
about that from the.
the thing is, Glyne, I would like to ask, how is it possible for a foreign company, regardless of where they're coming from, because we see this happening so often. You see, for example, I'm sure you'll be familiar with the fact that, Bajans have to wait so long when they send a submission into the planning department, and then you will have some of these people coming investing in Barbados, and they can get their plans approved within a couple of weeks, and we are waiting for months. There seems to be a differentiation between over and away and Barbadians.
I am told that the restaurateur is an outsider who came to Barbados and bought some of the most prominent, famous restaurants, right operating them. And people are asking whether the reason and the permission, the duty free concessions are given by out of the Ministry of Finance. All right, not the Ministry of Tourism. That's handled by the Ministry of Finance. And therefore, people are asking, is this another career? You have to be well connected, again, friends and family and fornicators, or what is going on here? Why should this outsider come and get what other people have not been good? Like I said, in business, they say you don't get what you deserve, you get what you negotiate. If an outsider or anybody can negotiate, fine. But in the final, it's a judgment, a decision of the Barbadian authorities. No, I don't blame the outsider at all to try to get the best for her as a business person. But it's incumbent, or we expect that the Barbados authorities will be looking after the best interests of the Barbados in general. Sectors are protecting them in a way because in this day of big capital, especially you're coming from outside of Barbados, even coming from Trinidad. Trinidad has a bigger economy than Barbados, and people finances move now easily. And if you look at the Trinidadization of even the supermarkets in Barbados, it is a trend that we can no longer allow us to be pushed out. I mean, I blame some of the takeover on the ineptness and the laziness and the loss of, and the lack of imagination for the local private sector, especially when you're saying in Bridge, what's happening
But
around the Bridge now.
but
Tom
but
Adams
you
and us used to talk about that since the 80s, developing Bridgetown.
but
But
it's
it
it's
could
like
not,
it's like
just to
they're
make
in bed with the whole thing too, Glenn. I mean, because that can't happen unless there is, and you have to pardon my expression, some buying out, some paying out of local private sector entities, in
but
in terms of their benefit.
the, the, the private sector, like I said, we used to talk about it. Prime Minister Adams, that's we go on the balcony and even watch the sunset something on on Bay Street. The
Yes,
same
yeah,
building that this present government wants to sell
wants to sell.
and the investors sell to us. And it used to be we discuss he would talk about plans to develop the Hilton right down to the BMC restaurant shop, wonderful stuff. But our Prime Minister Arthur tried to push it along, but we couldn't get the BS&T to move. They kept some of the most lucrative, valuable real estate on the waterfront in warehouses for years. We've
That's
been
right.
trying to build air. That is why we don't have a marina as yet. So what was happening is that they lost again the more aggressive business to bought them out. But I'm not surprised because Napoleon once said of the British that their nation of shopkeepers, right? Not British shopkeepers. And I applied the same indictment against the private sector of Barbados, who had all that real estate down. That's down Bridgetown. I'll put it to no good use. Never developed, reimagine. They just want to import and sell, import
Yes.
and sell.
Yes, in all the years I've been traveling to the Cayman Islands, Glyne, and I'm not sure just how much you know about the Cayman Islands with regard to things like this. My understanding is that, for example, if you want to set up a business in the Cayman Islands, the majority shareholder must be a Caymanian. You can't set up a business in Grand Cayman unless 51 minimum 51% of the business is owned by a Caymanian. So there's that sense in which a Cayman Island resident is involved with any foreign business development. And I'm not talking about offshore businesses here. I'm not talking about the offshore companies and so on.
Right.
I'm talking about actually setting up a business in Cayman. If you want to set up a supermarket, a dress store, or anything of that nature, it has to include a Caymanian in the context. Otherwise, you don't get permission.
That made me that revived memories of. There's a case of Julian, right? The original Julian.
Yes,
Never
yes.
the net never roll.
Hmm,
He
hmm.
went. He set up about. It was in Saint Lucia.
I believe it was. I believe it was.
They not last long
Hmm,
because it offended the Saint Lucian sense of what should that air belongs to them, and they
hmm.
did not receive support and patronage like it was expected to. So, but Barbados cannot be. We are an open society, but we have to be open keep our eyes open, not just our pockets. Our eyes open to protect our best interests. We've always been an open society given our geographical location. We were a hub forever,
Hmm, hmm,
etc. So,
hmm.
but you have to do it judicially. And I find that the previous governments seem to have a better sense of direction and want to retain for Barbados certain things than this present one. Don't forget, the Prime Minister has made it clear in the document, and she's Minister of Plan Development, that when you apply under this new town planning and development act, when you apply, you apply for permission with a presumption in favor of development. So you can say, well, I'm well on the way. It's just a matter of dotting the I's and crossing the T's. I'd like to know how many um, applications have been turned down, or what were they and why were they turned down. But right now you have development, but you have no information to guide you as to how and what is happening and what it will do, the implications. You just have to hope that the process is being respected, and that our patrimony, our sovereignty in everywhere are not being violated, and being put in the hands of others. And it's something, especially at this time when we talk about country and nationalism and patriotism, uh, that we have to be patriotic for the well-being of all Barbados. Right? Barbados has to mean something first, above anything else, especially where all the, because when you tear down those buildings on Bay Street, etc., are going on, will never ever be replaced.
Hmm, hmm.
Right? They're not leasing them and refurbished to the interior. They are buying them, demolishing them, and putting their own creations in their place. What will Bridgetown look like? What character? And these are things we are not getting. There's no obligation. You would hear about a project when it's proposed. If there's controversy, here's something said. Government will come and defend it. When it's open, you see them unveil the plot, but there's no ongoing communication. You can understand the whole nature as it used to be. Used to be a time, where, especially when I was a journalist, when the journalists would be going to project sites and getting a few weeks update. You know how far what is next, how many people are involved, and you don't get that. Everything is controlled now, especially where the government is concerned, and no information. Remember, Sam Lords was built under two governments, and this one, I probably heard with three or four stories. Why Sam Lords was being built at our expense?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
We are being disrespected. We're not being taken into account, and it is doing Barbados no good for our present circumstances and for
And
the
for the
future.
future.